Welcome back to the channel. Today I am talking a little bit about, well, something my wife came up with a great idea and something that I'm very curious about. And she tried to explain this to me. As you guys know from the title of the video, should Tesla make a small, affordable vehicle? And we're not talking about a Model 3 because that's already been done. All right, well, I'm gonna basically get things together. Here's the intro, enjoy. Hi, how's it going?
Hello.
Okay, and obviously to make this video I had to set up multiple cameras because, well,
Multiple.
yeah, there's like so many cameras. All right, so today I want to know more specifically in this video, we're going to be talking a little bit about why you think your Tesla should make a car that's smaller. Now, you kind of gave me the gist of it and you kind of gave me an idea about, well, I think Tesla needs to do this. And I go like, well, yeah, but there's a Model 3. And then you're like, well, no, they need to go smaller. And I'm like, excuse me? And well, take over. Tell me what it is that you think.
Okay, the reason that I think that they should make a smaller Tesla has nothing to do with the Model 3. It has nothing to do with the S or the X. These are all really good cars they have out there. The thing is, though, is when you're talking about having a smaller car, a compact car, it makes more sense, especially for people that are more city drivers than highway or long trip drivers.
Okay, so basically you're looking at, so right now you're driving a Mitsubishi Mirage, right?
Yes.
And you really love that car. I mean, I know you really love that car.
It's cute, it does what I need it to do, and, if I need to take the highways, it can handle it.
Fair enough. So basically, from the gist of what I got, you're looking at should Tesla make a vehicle? Mind you, here's my thing. You already have stuff like the Prius out there, and you have things out there like even the BMW Mini and so forth and so on. Like you can, not the Mini, the i3. You can easily get yourself into one of those cars, and frankly, they're actually reasonably priced.
Okay, the only thing that is the closest to the size that I'm talking about would be the Bolt.
Wow, okay.
Because that size, it's compact enough and it's really good for the city. The thing is that price point on the Bolt is almost the same price point as a Model 3 Basic.
Okay, but in the real world, the Bolt is, as far as the size goes of the Bolt, you're talking about a vehicle that is very similar in size. I mean, it's taller than a Model 3. So I think, from what you explained to me, the BMW i3 would be, I guess, closest to the Mitsubishi Mirage that you have currently.
I think the BMW i3 would actually be bigger than the Mirage.
Well, it is bigger than the Mirage. I'm not disagreeing with that, but it's the closest size to the Mirage. And from what you told me, you wanted something that is basically kind of like the Mirage, and it's a smaller, very compact, smaller car, so smaller battery pack. Obviously, you even
it doesn't have to do more than 150. I don't think.
150 kilometers.
Yeah, before you need to charge it up.
So
150 to 300, I think, is a really because it's more on the smaller range.
Okay, so
like the basic Model 3 is going to do 300.
300 kilometers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
So if you go down to 150, because it's more for city people, more for people that are commuting, not necessarily for the general public who like to take the road trips. Like, as an example, in our household, we have 2 vehicles, right?
Yes.
So obviously we don't both need a Model S.
No, well, you already stated that. I mean, even when we were talking about the Model 3, you said there's just no use for the Model 3 for you.
No.
And that's why you went out and bought the Mirage.
Think about it this way. If you have a smaller city vehicle, like a smaller, like Tesla Tiny or something.
Tesla Tiny. Okay,
yes.
Elon Musk, if you heard, if you're going to watch this video at all, and you guys should share this video to Elon Musk, let's go out with the brand new Tesla Tiny.
It's a cute name.
It's a cute name, actually. I do like it. Let me know in the comments below if you guys like the name.
So if you have something like the Tesla Tiny for the, the everyday average stuff, when you go on a road trip, it's usually going to be multiple people in the car, right?
Okay.
So you have the Model S for that. And because the Model S has already got all the special features like having the
autopilot.
Autopilot, yes. Well, not just the autopilot, but because the superchargers. Like a majority of the people that end up with an S or an X still sometimes fall in that range where they get the free supercharging.
Right.
So it's a perfect road trip car.
Absolutely. I'm not going to disagree with
And
you
you
there.
can put lots of luggage if you need to.
Yeah, okay.
And a sleepaway bed.
Okay, what does this have to do with going with...
So if one in a household, you don't need to have two big cars unless you both are going to go on a road trip with like 10 kids or something.
Oh, my 10 kids. Wow.
I'm just
So when you and I were talking about this a lot, and it's really funny to me because ultimately it came down to you're wanting a solution where you don't want to go into the Model 3, and mainly that has to do with the fact that you want to drive around the city as much as possible. Okay, and see,
well,
this
plus in BC we have this company called ICBC, which makes insurance really expensive.
Okay, fair enough. We can actually do a different video on the insurance aspect. Trust me, guys, it's absolutely nuts. If you live in BC, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Consider the fact that she's had her license for 4 months on the car. Now you do ride a motorcycle, obviously,
Yes.
for 4 years, but nevertheless 4 months on the car.
And as we all know that for some reason Tesla, we just can't nag them into getting a motorcycle. So let's get a Tesla Mini or Tiny.
I
Sorry.
love the name Tesla Tiny, but I think it's going to be worth talking about, you know, in a future video with regards to Tesla motorcycles. I still think Tesla's making a huge mistake not making motorcycles. Considering the two of us ride, obviously we would think that. Not everybody will agree, but
No, of course not.
Going back to your topic, I think having something small such as the Tesla Tiny, which would be, I guess, the equivalent size of a, you know, like I said, BMW i3 is kind of what she's aiming.
Bigger than a smart car, but smaller than a Model 3.
There you go. So somewhere in between. Now, on the
Easy to park.
very easy to park. I got it. Now, the funny thing about this is I believe it was either the same day you brought this up or the day after. I can't remember. We're watching YouTube, and at one point, you know, we're watching the information that, you know, in Shanghai when Elon was
His
talking
new
about.
Gigafactory, yes.
Right, and he even talked about, you know, they're gonna look into making a car for the masses, if you will. Now,
Make it a Tesla Tiny.
make it a Tesla Tiny, Elon. Come on, Elon. Make it a Tesla Tiny just for my wife. So, I mean, okay, but the price range you're talking about, if you're talking about a 150 kilowatt battery, first of all, obviously that's going to be very limited. So that's going to be mostly for city use and urban stuff. But
Well, also think about it when you're going to a supercharger, how fast you're going to be able to charge that battery. You're not going to stay at that charging point for a long period of time.
well, I think that depends, though. Okay, so basically the way that the Tesla supercharger, yes, obviously it's going to be very little time. So I understand where you're going with this. The way you explained it to me before was that because it's such a smaller battery, you're basically looking at it's going to charge up much faster, so people are not going to be staying there longer, right? Is that
Right.
Okay. But when it comes to this vehicle, you're looking at it having a urban vehicle and having something that's more localized, 150 kilometers or something along those lines. And if you're going to go down that path, I think for Tesla, the price range is kind of the other part that you brought up. It kind of goes together. hand in
Okay,
hand.
here's the thing. Like, I think the price range could be between the $20,000 and $30,000.
Wow, to me, that's high. See, like if I'm going to look at the way I look at it
Well,
is,
I'm looking at the average prices of cars in that same size market.
but Tesla's not the average car maker. So
No, it's not.
I'm thinking if they can make, I think for 150 kilometer or let's say 120 to 150 kilometers, you're going to get out of a small Tesla Tiny, right? If I think the price somewhere around like the 22 to 25,000, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I think there's a market for this. I see a lot of people driving the smallest possible cars, and once you told me about why the Model 3 was so much, you felt like the Model 3 is still a bigger car.
Yes. Well, I mean, here's the thing too. Okay, so this is from my standpoint, obviously, of as being a new driver. Okay, being a new driver, you're going to get into a Model 3. It's smaller than an S or an X, but it's still going to be harder to park. The cost of it to buy a new car for a Model 3, you're going to feel bad if anything happens to that car.
But you're going to feel bad if you had a $25,000 Tesla Tiny as well.
Yes, but the thing is the people that are going into these new cars, having the ability to get into a car that's smaller in a better price range, they're more likely to go into that car.
So this would be, in your opinion, would this be something like the new drivers would be able to really get themselves into and get kind of like the training and all that stuff? Maybe not as fast of a obvious acceleration.
Like zero to 60 in 9 seconds.
9 seconds. Okay, I can see that. I mean, I do see where you're going with it.
It would be a good learning tool for understanding how the electric vehicles work. Plus for commuters, because a lot of people that are in the area that only do the urban driving, they're not going to want to get a big vehicle. The whole point, they have the small vehicle.
Let me ask you, since you are talking about, I mean, this was your idea, and obviously you thought it through because I saw your notes on it too. And one of the things so you know, we're going to take you as the example in this case. How much would you say you drive per day in, you know, do you drive 100 kilometers a day?
No, I don't drive 100. Well, unless I'm going somewhere specifically, no. I mean, usually my day will be like 20 to 50.
20 to 50. And I think that fits into the average person's kilometers anyway. So having a car that runs around the 150 kilometers, you plug in at night, you're actually really good no matter which way you look at it. So I do think this is an interesting idea. The Tesla Tiny, I think if that ever comes out, by the way, that was her idea. You should get that like registered. But so yeah.
So if there's a Tesla Tiny, I'll take a discount on it, please.
Yeah, I'll give you like, I don't know, 50% discount.
And the other side of this too is, so instead of putting all the crazy features like you have in the Model 3, the Model S, the Model X, I think because you're putting the price range down, I think you can more implement into the whole idea of the subscriptions.
But I think they kind of have that already because basically right now when it comes to data, maps, almost everything, like all of that goes through a subscription base at this moment. So I think I understand what you're saying, but
you're implementing it right from the beginning, the minute this car comes out. So it's not like one of these things where you're telling people, okay, so like 2 years down the road, we're going to start charging.
Okay.
This is something that you put in right away.
So what you're looking at is, okay, even GPS and all those things, they would be as an option for whatever, $19, $19.99 a month. You get GPS and this, that. I mean, autopilot, would you want autopilot on a car like this? Or would you want that to be strictly more of just a genuine electric car that doesn't necessarily need autopilot?
See, that's the thing. I'm kind of
because you're in the city, right?
I'm kind of torn between that idea. And the only reason I'm actually torn behind that idea is because it would be really cool to have that feature, but at the same time, because you're trying to get people in here that want to learn and understand a vehicle, I don't know if it's a good idea.
See, I've talked about this before, where I don't ever really think for new drivers, you know, having autopilot and having navigate on autopilot, I think it's a bad idea. I think drivers should take their time and learn from the get-go. So I'm on board with you on that. I think it's a really good way to go, but I mean, it's an interesting idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the audience decide. I'm going to let you guys decide. Do you think a Tesla Tiny is a good idea, is a good option? Going down the idea of having more of an urban vehicle, and would there be a market for it? I think, in my opinion, I think you're right. I think the market is actually much bigger than what we think.
Plus, think about it this way. How good would it be to get somebody who would prefer to be in a compact car into a Tesla and see what Tesla's all about?
So you're thinking this is also another stepping stone to Tesla, because it's ridiculous. I mean, if you're talking about somewhere between $20,000 and $25,000 for a Tesla, you know, urban Tesla Tiny, then yeah, I mean, I guess there would be a lot more people that would put, you know, go into it. I think this would also be good for like college kids and, you know, people like, especially people who
young adults.
I mean, it's an expensive way to go down, you know, to get into. Already going through college and trying to get your first job, and you're moving out and all that stuff, but you need a vehicle to go from point A to point B. So I think this is
Think of the gas savings they'll have.
Well, yeah, no gas, no maintenance, no. I mean, and even the subscriptions, like you said, they can pay for it if they need to or if they feel like they want it. But otherwise, they have a fully electric vehicle and taking advantage of the Tesla supercharging network. I think, especially in the urban area, or even
urban chargers work, or even the destination chargers.
Yeah, I think you're onto something. I'm going to leave this all up to you guys to decide on what you guys think. I think there is a market for it, but I think that there's some logistics aspect. Can Tesla build a, you know, basically a BMW i3 size
or
vehicle or smaller? You know, basically, if you guys don't know what a Mitsubishi Mirage looks like, look it up. That's what she drives, and she loves that car. And
it's easy to park.
it's really easy to park, especially because you're a new driver when it comes to this. So you spent, what is that car? By the time we went with all the options and all that,
It was almost 20,000.
I was almost 20,000. So I think it's worth. I see where you're going with it, and you're taking a personal experience and what you would like, and then you're kind of like, okay, I want to be in a Tesla, but I don't want to be in a Model 3.
The other thing is that you have to consider also that when people are getting their cars, unfortunately, we've had this happen with Model 3s, S's, and X's, where they take the car in for every little tiny thing. I think this is one of those things that if you go into a Tesla Tiny, I think it should be, okay, what you have is what you get, unless it's an actual functional issue, then you go in for service.
So change up the warranty aspect, like, okay, if panel gaps are not necessarily what we're talking about here. We're talking about, like, one of the things about Model 3 owners, and especially in the beginning when they came out, I mean, you and I, we heard a lot on this. It was incredible how many people were telling us this, but and I talked to some of the service centers. I mean, people brought in their cars for every tiny little things that honestly nobody in their right mind would ever look for or see. In fact, a lot of times people walked into a Tesla service center and they tried to show the service center, oh, look, my paint isn't perfect, and they couldn't find it. They actually could not find where that paint deficiency was, which was hilarious. But I mean, look, honestly, I think it's, again, like I said, I think it's an interesting idea. When you first told me, I was actually against it, and then as you explained it to me more, driving around the streets, I realized there's a lot of cars that are like really small, tiny, compact cars out there. And slowly I'm looking at the price ranges of, like, okay, what do those cars cost? And realistically, I mean, they were costing very close to your price range, somewhere between $20,000 and $25,000.
Yeah.
And it's incredible to me how many of those cars are on the market. So I think you do have a market for this. I mean, obviously the SUVs are the big thing. Everybody wants an SUV, but then again, not everybody wants an SUV, and not everybody wants a Model 3 or a Model S or a Model X, because they're just massive vehicles for them.
Well, I mean, you can make it just a small car, or you can actually make it a hatchback. I mean, there's so many options to how you can market a Tesla Tiny or a Tesla Urban, as you call it.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, Tesla Urban, I think Tesla. Okay, I am taking that name. So Tesla Urban, I like that.
It's the same family, so either way, if you go with either one of those names, can we have a discount when I pick mine up?
I think it's an interesting idea. I don't know if Tesla's going to do this, but I do know that they do want to make something different. And I think Elon already said this. He made that clear in that when they were doing the Shanghai thing. But I think they are working on something.
Well, if you think about it, when you actually look at any videos that are from China, you'll see that there is a lot of smaller cars there.
It's true. I think the market is there. I'm very curious to see if Tesla would do that. And look, guys, honestly, if they do, then, well, I hope you guys watch this video, because then we can go back and say, look, I'm going to upload this video. And then when I upload this video, I can always go back like 2 years, 3 years. I honestly don't think we're going to see another vehicle from Tesla for years to come, anywhere from 1 to 2 years.
I hope sooner.
You hope sooner. I think it's going to be very interesting. Let us know again in the comments below, because I'm very, very curious what everybody thinks. Then
again, all you have to do is take the ATV and just put like a shell over top of it, and there you go.
Oh, and so now you're taking the ATV that they already created and then just put a cover over it.
Yeah.
I believe there's manufacturers out there that do that right now. But you see, the thing is, there are options that you want to go with, but you don't want to go with anybody but a Tesla, because you trust Tesla. And basically,
when it comes to electric cars, yes.
See, and I think that's where the interesting part is. It's not like you don't have options. You have options. You're just not interested in those options.
But a lot of those options are close, not that far off from buying a Model 3. And I just don't see the purpose for myself having a Model 3.
I think a BMW i3, a used BMW i3, I think is very, very well priced. And
I was talking about new cars.
Oh, okay. Well, this is going back to the new versus old.
Yes.
It's another video we have on another content. All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to leave it at this. I'm going to let it up to our audience to talk about this and kind of, go from there.
Let Tesla know you want a Tesla Tiny or a Tesla Urban.
Well, at the very least, let Tesla know that my wife wants a Tesla Tiny, which is what she names it. I think a Tesla Urban is a good name. So the Tesla U. In your case, that would be a Tesla T. That wouldn't work.
Yeah, well.
Tesla Model T, that wouldn't work. But Tesla Model U can work.
Or Just tiny.
Just tiny. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave me your comments. I want to know. I'm very genuinely curious what you guys have to talk about, what you guys have to say about all this. And thank you very much for my wife for actually doing this. I mean, she's been on the channel before, but she's...
Vote for my idea.
Vote for her idea. There you go.
Get Tesla to get on board with it.
And if you guys are interested, I would highly recommend you guys go over to our website, ourlifemedia.com, and you guys can see some if you guys want to know what other channels we run, there's a list of all the other channels that we run as well,
and Tesla merch.
Thank you. So there is some Tesla merch up there too. All right, everybody, thank you very much for watching. As always, please drive safe out there. Bye.
Bye.